commission didn't just start late today. It started with a bombshell, a single name, Imogen Mashazi, blamed for the delay by Madlanga himself. And by the end of the day, she'd be at the center of some of the most chaotic testimony that the inquiry has seen so far. Now, are we going to get into it? And I'm going to give you everything that you need to know about what went down today. So on paper, Dr. Imogen Mashazi is a very impressive woman. She got her PhD in nursing studies in 2002, and she told us today that she was the first woman who was appointed as city manager in Ekurhuleni, and that was a very impressive role for her. But unfortunately, on paper for me, does not translate to real life, because from watching her testimony today, I'm not impressed with her at all. And I've come to either two conclusions. She is either woefully ignorant of her role and her duties that she performed as city manager, or she is simply not being as truthful as she should be in front of the commission today. That is just my own personal opinion. So firstly, we have to get into it, like, why does her testimony matter so much and why the commission has been wanting to hear from her. So we have to go back to some previous testimony, and that of Metro Chief Jabulani Mapiyeye, rate my pronunciation below, I'm learning, and he claimed in his testimony that Mashazi was protecting Kat Matala and Brigadier Julius Mkhonasi. And this is the same Julius Mkhonasi, I call him the bad Mkhonasi. He is no relation at all to General Mkhonasi, who held the 6th of July presser. This is a completely different person, of illegally giving Kat blue lights and basically running the EMPD like it was his private empire. Remember from his testimony, he told the commission how this Julius Mkhonasi was just appointed as his deputy, and then he started promoting people. He had his own hit squad that he called them, of his own personal people who would go out and do things with. And he was running the show as though he was the chief, even though he was the deputy chief. And every time, according to his own testimony, Jabulani Mapiyeye, he tried to, investigate or complain upwards to Imogen Mashazi, then she would allegedly protect Julius Mkhonasi. And she is also accused of basically, through protecting Julius Mkhonasi, protecting the cat. So it was very interesting to hear from her and what she had to say. And basically what we got from her testimony today was a whole lot of pushing the ball onto her legal counsel. And he is also going to come before the commission and testify. So I can't wait until what he has to say. In her response about the blue lights saga, Imogen Mashazi says that this is basically all a blue lie. And she calls Mapiyeye bitter because he was suspended for harassment. And we're going to get into that because there were some wild claims that she made about other witnesses that have appeared before the commission. And I think my jaw dropped to the floor when I heard what she said about them, because personally, as a woman, I would never make those claims with regards to another woman unless I had absolute proof or I had their permission in order to share their story. Who exactly is Imogen Mashazi? Well, here is the story twist. Is, like I said, on paper, she looks brilliant on paper. She is the first woman to ever serve as Ekurhuleni city manager. She has a doctorate, very impressive. She says that she built many clinics that are state of the earth in previously disadvantaged areas. And she is basically a woman who says the EMPD was a boys' club where women were expected to, quote, sleep their way to a promotion. And she claims that she's the one who came in and she created a platform to promote women. And she claims that there were these angels who were called angels, and all of these angels were women who slept with Chief Mapiyeye for promotions. And she claims officers told her that Mapiyeye fathered multiple children with subordinates, which is also an allegation that has been leveled against Julius Mkhonasi, that he has also fathered multiple children with with people below him. But I mean, this is just what's happening. It appears as though she came in this morning wanting to muddy Mapiyeye's name further, in my own opinion. And there were even allegations of the R word. I can't say it for YouTube, but no woman wanted to file a formal complaint against Mapiyeye, and that there were essentially 4 cases against him, which we're going to get to now. And Madlanga asks her, why didn't you act? I mean, you are basically his boss because he was appointed by the council, and his duty, he reports to her because she sits on the council as city manager, but he reports to her and she reports from his behalf onto the council. That is how it works. We spent a lot of time this morning going to the legalities around it, to see who had jurisdiction, if she had jurisdiction to interfere or not. And Madlanga asked her, why didn't you act? And she had no clear answer. I mean, these are serious allegations. If you are the first woman who has been promoted as city manager of Ekurhuleni, and there are all these serious cases against Mapiyeye, then why didn't you do something? Why are you only doing something when he started asking questions? Why did all these cases only come forward when he started asking questions about Julius Mkhwanazi? I'm not saying this man is innocent. We don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that there is this pattern that we've seen, is that when you ask questions, you are bribed. And if you don't take the bribe, then you are threatened. And when you've done being threatened, then there are cases that are opened against you. And this is just what's common, what I've just personally been observing. Now, she said that there were 4 IPID cases against him. Like I said, this woman took a considerable amount of time to further blacken his name, as well as the name of another officer who testified against her. We're going to get into that later, but I personally found that very disturbing, the accusations that she made against her. And it gets darker. So, according to her, there are these 4 IPID cases that were referred to for Mapiyeye, and it was a drink and driving cover-up. And then there was a second drink and driving where a child was allegedly killed. There was an assault case, which was withdrawn. And then there was a R case, or an allegation that never went anywhere. And Mashazi claims all of these were reported to IPID. She accuses Mapiyeye of defeating the ends of justice. But when she was confronted with the illegal blue light agreements between EMPD and CAT, suddenly she says she didn't know. So what are we getting from this testimony? She knows a lot about what's happening with Mapiyeye, but she doesn't have the same level of knowledge about what is happening to Julius Mkhwanazi and between the CAT. So for me, this seems a little bit directed in my own opinion. And now we got to go over some further allegations that she leveled. Talk about what she said about another woman. And this is interesting for a woman who claims to want to empower other women. It's telling the way that she speaks about other women, especially in this case about Lieutenant Colonel Kelebogile Thepa. Now,
just to close off this paragraph, in paragraph 50.1, you mention, and I think I would like to be clear what it is you're saying in your evidence. You mention Lieutenant Colonel Thepa as one of the people that Chief Mapiyeye referred to as his angels. You have also, in your explanation, said at some point she was put in to be one of your protectors by him. But it is in a paragraph where you speak about her. It's in a paragraph where you say Chief Mapiyeye had children with subordinates who were vulnerable to his abuse of power, including conduct amounting to sexual harassment, coercion, and rape. Just to be clear, from your evidence, are you saying that Colonel Thepa is one of the people that you refer to as subordinates that have had children with the chief, that have been the victims of his abuse of power, coercion, sexual harassment? Are you saying that about her?
I have explained that if you are called an angel, it means you are playing along. If you are not an angel, obviously if you are not called an angel, you will not play along with chief and agree to be abused, sexually abused.
I think we have to go past innuendo. This is very damaging if it is not backed up by facts. I'm happy for you to say it's fact, what you are saying about her, and you will give us evidence that backs it up. We won't stop you. doing that. But if you're relying on innuendo because she's called one of my angels, and you say, therefore, she must have had an improper relationship with him, that is not permissible. So I'm asking you a direct question. Do you say it as a fact that Colonel Thepa had an improper relationship with Chief Mapiyeye, and in particular, and maybe let me put it specific as what I think you're suggesting, she had a sexual relationship with Chief Mapiyeye. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
And you have evidence of that you will include in your supplementary statement?
Evidence of them having an affair. Did you ask for evidence from Olani? No. Ma'am, did you ask evidence from Nweza when he said, I have extramural activities with Mkwanas?
I'm asking you the question. You don't ask me questions. I ask you questions.
So I have no comment.
May I please speak?
She testified a while ago in front of Madlanga. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. And her testimony for me was very emotional. I personally found her very credible. I found her testimony very emotional. We know that she tried to get to the bottom of the blue light saga, much like Mapiyeye did. But when she asked too many questions, she was attacked twice. And this is something that is also a pattern. And we're going to get into her attacks. I'm going to clip in some of her testimony. But what this woman went through was simply awful.
I was sitting with a neighbor who was on the passenger seat. And 3 men came up to the vehicle that I was in. They came there. The one that came around to the driver's seat cocked a firearm and pointed it to me. I had the windows down. And he then demanded that I switch off the vehicle. So he puts his hand in to try and reach for the keys on the ignition, but it's not the kind that you start manually with the key, it's those press button. And there was a lot of things that was being said. Behind me, as I was on the driver's seat, another came in and there was this sharp metal object against my neck. Initially I thought, yes, a knife that's going to slit my throat, only to discover that that is a firearm. And that, I think what hurt me the most with everything that was said at that point, it was then, it is things that are work related. And the fact that, they want a phone from me and the information which they want, and the fact that they would be, sorry, commissioners. I was hit on the head with a firearm. The accosters shoved me to the side of the passenger seat. They got into the car and they drove off. House. And I could see my neighbor who's literally looking inside the vehicle to identify who the drivers are.
Ms. Thepa, should we take a short adjournment for you to compose yourself, perhaps?
Please, Commissioner.
Let us adjourn.
And today, in front of the whole of South Africa, Dr. Imogen came out, Mashazi, and accused this woman who had been attacked twice in a very violent way of basically being an angel and sleeping with Mapiyeye. And that, for me, my jaw dropped because, number one, firstly, why would you ever speak on another woman's behalf? Because the way she was framing it, it sounded improper to me. And why would you as a woman, go and speak on another woman's behalf about a relationship that they had. And I just was very disturbed at this line of questioning where she accused Lieutenant Colonel Thepa of this inappropriate relationship, of her being an angel with Mapiyeye. And personally, I found it very shocking that Mashazi has come out swinging, because what we've learned so far from her testimony is that she's trying her best to dirty Mapiyeye's name, and she's taking out someone else with her who testified against her, because Lieutenant Colonel Thepa did testify against her. Lieutenant Colonel Thepa was the EMPD spokesperson, and when she was fielding inquiries in 2023 with regards to Jeff Wicks's story that was happening on the Blue Light saga, remember Jeff Wicks was investigating that, she testified under oath that she basically said that this was big and that they had to issue a joint statement, the EMPD, as well as Imogen Mashazi's office. And she says that she was told by a cop at IPID that Julius Mkhwanazi was a dirty cop. And when she kept on asking these questions, she was assaulted at gunpoint, she was threatened to stay silent, and she was removed from her job. Her media unit was disbanded, and she was dumped at Oro Tambo Airport, where she was assaulted again one night while she was driving to work. And she says that it was Mashazi's office that told her to back off with the Blue Light scandal and to stop speaking to the media. And yet, today, Mashazi still tries to suggest that Thepa's testimony is suspicious. Despite Thepa literally risking her life, she was attacked twice. She has thankfully been reinstated as her position as EMPD spokesperson. But for me, my jaw dropped to the ground. This is not how women who want to empower other women behave. This is quite the opposite, frankly, in my own opinion. Now, we got to go to the IPID report fiasco, because there was also a lot of I don't know that was happening there. So the Blue Light scandal, it erupted in February 2023. And remember, this was very scandalous because these cars were supposed to be donated. This is what Kat and Julius Mkhwanazi's story is. These cars were supposed to be donated to the Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department, and as well as some time with a helicopter. But we know for a fact that these cars were illegally fitted with blue lights, and they were fitted by someone who said that Julius Mkhwanazi told them to fit them with blue lights. And they were in fact in Kat's possession. And they are seen carrying Mama Kat and her cubs, or her pups, whatever they're called, to the airport and back, and to school. And Jeff Wick picked up on the story. And after that, IPID started investigating. Now, the IPID reports recommended disciplinary action against Julius Mkhwanazi, and Mashani says she forwarded on to the legal head, Advocate Kimi Bahari, who said that there was no case. These are her words, right? So we don't know what Bahari is going to come and testify to in front of ad hoc, in front of Madlanga, but I would think that it's probably something different from what Mashazi is saying, what exactly happened. Now, Bahari, let's give him the chance to respond, because he has publicly said that he wants to come and give his whole account in front of Madlanga, in front of the country. But today, Mashazi says that the IPID report was vague because she didn't read the attachments or didn't have attachments. She didn't understand it. And also, it wasn't her job anyway. It was Mapiyeye's job. And then the commission played a clip of her contradicting herself on TV.
I indicated that receiving this document, I acted. And the person responsible to discipline Mkhwanazi is the chief of police. Okay. I wish the commission could understand how council works and how the systems of delegations work. And in terms of the SEPS Act, the commission is aware that the discipline of members in the EMPD relies solely on the chief of police. And if the accounting officer had to actually sit in all the DCs, of junior officials in this 26 department, how will the accounting officer discharge her duties, especially her strategic duties, governance, service delivery and performance of the city in general?
Okay. Now, Commissioner Kumalo also referenced, I think, an interview you had where you spoke about this issue, specifically that there was an IPID report regarding these matters that was not acted upon. You recall that interview?
Yes.
And I would like us to play that clip and then to appreciate the response you gave to the journalist at the time. It should come up shortly.
If there are, but we believe that there's more money that is still sitting within Sintel.
The IPID report for us was very vague and I was unable to discipline anyone. We had to take that IPID report to our investigation. We appointed an independent investigator through the internal audit and the report was out. We'll share the report with you so that you can start disciplining people. So from that report, the acting chief of police has done nothing wrong. He's cleared. So IPID, they can go ahead if they want to arrest him, if they think he is wrong, because they are police officers. But from our side, in terms of the DC and investigation, there's nothing wrong that the acting chief of police has done. He's been cleared by our report, and for as long as there's nothing that they're doing from their side, if they believe that he is wrong, there's nothing I can do as an accounting officer. He reports to me. Even the chief of police, who is on suspension, he reports to me. If there's any wrongdoing from his side, I must do my own investigation and I must also subject that person to a DC. I can't subject my officers to a DC based on a report that I myself do not understand, because I had to take it to legal, and legal analyze the report and they refer the report to internal audit.
The reason I ask whether you read this report when it was given to you, it's because I'm worried if an impression is created or is drawn from how you're testifying that you received this report and simply passed it on. You didn't look at it, you didn't engage with its contents, you just passed it on to Advocate Behari, and then he came back to you with his advice that ignore it, it's vague, and as city manager, you were content to deal with things at that superficial level. I'm concerned that your evidence may be misunderstood to convey that. Hence my question, did you read this report?
Yeah, I perused the report.
Yes, you did read it.
Yeah, I perused the report.
Now, having read it,
yeah,
and you've explained that you would have to defend your position about the position you take about it. Having read the report, and I'm going to assume that you reread it to come and testify here, what in the report in front of you did you consider to be vague, unsubstantiated conclusions about what Brigadier Mkhwanazi is being accused of?
Yeah, post the commission and the evidence that we received, the report is full of gross misconduct, and it needed an action from the city. But initially, because I just perused through the document and there was no attachment to it to confirm. That is the decision that I took after I was advised that the report is vague.
Okay. A different question still relating to this. In the in that in your evidence earlier, you say that Chief Mapiyeye was responsible to discipline Brigadier Mkhwanazi. And you don't get involved with that. And indeed, this report from IPID, you're correct, is addressed to Chief Mapiyeye, but we know from your evidence that it does come to your attention. But in that interview, you speak about you being responsible to discipline Brigadier Mkhwanazi. That's what you say in your words. And I'm really confused about what you're saying about your involvement with disciplinary action relating to Brigadier Mkhwanazi.
Thank you very much. If you listen to the interview, I said I have a right to discipline Mkhwanazi as an acting chief of police and including chief of police. That's my statement. Acting chief of police, you assume the responsibility of being the chief of police, and the responsibility of disciplining lies with the city manager.
So where criticism is that the city failed to discipline Brigadier Mkhwanazi arising from this report, according to this interview, that includes you. Because you say you relied on Advocate Behari's advice, and he will come and speak for himself. But to the extent that you own up in the interview that you have the authority to discipline your acting police chief, and you have decided not to discipline him because the report is vague and you've conducted an investigation, that's on you. It's your decision at that point not to discipline him.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me give clarity to your question. At the point of the report and the memorandum, signing of the memorandum, Mkhwanazi was a director. That's why the responsibility of disciplining him was resting in the authority of the chief of police, not the authority of the accounting officer. Hence, in my interview, I said him as an acting chief of police then, and he acted just for a short period. And the chief of police himself, they report to me, acting in the capacity of chief of police. But at the time of this incident, he was a director. And the only person that could discipline him was the chief of police.
But from the interview, we know that you made the decision, for reasons that you've given, you made the decision that there's nothing to discipline him for because an investigation has cleared him. So you made a decision when in that short time that he was acting, you made the decision arising from this IPID report, there's nothing to discipline him for because your investigation has cleared him.
I think I've answered there that I was advised at that point whether the advice is admissible or the advice is helping the process. The head of legal will explain.
Okay. And then
when asked why she didn't intervene in corruption, why she ignored whistleblowers, who she now accuses of being angels and of sleeping with Mapiyeye on public TV, by the way, why she didn't act on the IPID report, why she contradicted herself on national TV, Mashazi blames everyone but herself. She blames missing attachments. She blames the legal department. She blames the EMPD. She blames vague wording, and she blames a common theme here, which is Mapiyeye. Now, we also have to talk about Revo Spies, because what we've noticed is that Revo Spies, remember, his wife was working at the EMPD. She was working in the logistics department, and his wife has also allegedly received some sort of harassment at work. Now, Revo Spies is the person who Mapiyeye and Revo Spies were investigating Julius Mkhwanazi, and we have to look at the common theme because his wife, who was working in the logistics department, was demoted to a uniform packer in the EMPD. And if you take, for example, this in isolation. Let's take these alleged harassment cases against Mapiyeye. Let's take them in isolation. Then I think that you would have a case. But when you look with everything that is going on, let's look at Revo Spies' wife being downgraded in her job just because of her relation to her husband. If we look at the timing of these allegations against Mapiyeye, and also if we look at what happened to Colonel Thepa, Lieutenant Colonel, if we look what happened to Lieutenant Colonel Thepa, then we have to ask ourselves, is this a case of interference? Or are these just all coincidences? And there is a very famous saying that says that the simplest explanation, Occam's razor, is usually the most correct one. Comment below what you think. If you think that this testimony cannot get any more chaotic, then she finally admits it. She finally admits that she read the IPID report, and after reading it properly with all of its attachments, that Julius Mkhonasi should have faced disciplinary inquiry, a massive reversal from her earlier claims that the report was vague and unclear. Then Advocate Sello confronts her with a letter dated to the 6th of December. I think it's 2024 the year, but I might be wrong. But this is after the blue light scandal and the saga. And this is allegedly sent to IPID. And the officer from IPID who was involved in investigating Julius Mkhonasi, the same officer who said to Colonel Thepa that Julius Mkhonasi is a bad cop. And this is a letter defending Julius and contradicting the IPID findings. So among the things that are in this letter, it is allegedly that the vehicle registration was done by the fleet and not by Julius, that donations are apparently or allegedly normal, and nothing unlawful occurred. Now, Mashazi says that she's never seen this letter before, and that she was told that it was leaked to the media and that it was never actually sent to IPID. But here's the problem. The letter, whether real or just drafted, directly undermines IPID's investigation, defends Julius Mkhonasi, and claims that donated cars were normal procedure, even though Mashazi never authorized any donation at all, according to her own testimony from today. Now, Sello would go on and press further and asked Mashazi, did she have any role in having Mkhonasi's suspension lifted? Mashazi denies everything, but she confirms that she was copied into the HR letter that reinstated him and redeployed him to his position. And he was facing 6 charges. Among those charges was that legal memorandum he had signed with the CAT with regards to the security, the 4 blue lights that were fitted into those vehicles that CAT had possession of, and that 300,000 Rand in stationery that we still don't know where that money went to. So she denies involvement, but the papers trail still leads straight to her inbox. Next, a bombshell. We went through the testimony from that one individual from HR. I think he was an HR director, but he was trying to work with Mapiyeye in order to somehow discipline Julius Mkhonasi. And we know that according to his testimony, Julius refused to accept the charge sheet that was given to him because the HR head and Mashazi allegedly told him that the case would not fly. And we also know that Mashazi allegedly phoned this person from HR and had a very unpleasant conversation with him and said that you guys, along the lines of, you guys hate Julius Mkhonasi and you must leave him alone. And Mashazi denies everything. She says that, you know what, you can take my phone, and insists that she never interfered, never phoned HR, never told them to stop the disciplinary process. And then the funniest thing happens is that she says that Julius Mkhonasi was unruly, and the person that should have disciplined him, the person who was trying in vain to discipline him, Mapiyeye, that he should have dealt with him. That my jaw just dropped to the floor when I listened to that. And then Revo Spies enters the chat. Remember, he was working in the logistics department, and he was trying to also get involved and sort of clean up the EMPD. And when they started fingerprinting all the officers, they came up with 275 officers that they had fingerprinted, had these criminal records and convictions, or they were awaiting trial. And these were some very serious charges. And that Julius Mkhonasi allegedly blocked action against them, as well as blocked disciplinary action against them, as well as stopped the fingerprint process from happening. He had, remember, those 200 officers that were working below him in his hit squad or whatever they called it. And they refused all to do fingerprinting in his own unit. And then during a heated meeting, Spies testified that Julius phoned Mashazi in front of everyone, and that he came and he got very upset and he put the phone down, and he says the city manager says that this process will stop, referring to the fingerprinting. And Mashazi denies this too. She says that Julius was unruly and Mapiyeye should have dealt with him. But every time she is confronted with evidence, she blames someone else. I mean, she doesn't know a lot of what's happening in her department or in the EMPD. What she does know a lot is about Mapiyeye's angels. She knows a lot about that, but she doesn't know a lot about anything else. And this is selective memory to me. It's very suspicious. And we also know that according to the HR testimony, the Mapiyeye phoned the person from HR and said that he has been told by Mashazi to bring Julius's docket straight to her office. And then there was allegedly said that there was no case against him by that advocate who is still going to come and testify in front of us. And Spies says that she shut down the fingerprint investigation, and Mashazi denies it all. With regards to the communication between her and the HR person in the HR department, just when the contradictions couldn't get any sharper, Advocate Cello brings up the WhatsApp messages. And it is pointed out that in these WhatsApp messages, they prove that communication did in fact happen, directly contradicting her earlier denials. And basically what she replies to this is no comment. There is a moment of brevity, a moment of silence, and the room seems to feel it. Now, we got to also talk a little bit about special leave. So remember, Mapiyeye, he was placed on that special leave. According to his own testimony, he was told that he must come back from his special leave that he claims Mashazi placed him on with a different opinion of Julius Mkhonasi, and that he must try be more neutral towards him. And according to Mashazi, she claims that she placed him on special leave because he was under significant stress. Mapiyeye testified something completely different. So was it overstress, or was it pressure, or was it a punishment? Or was it to simply get him out of the department for those 30 days so that Julius Mkhonasi could continue on his alleged rampage of taking it over? And then comes the 5 million rand shocker. Now, this thing makes me extremely angry because this is South Africans' taxpayers who are going to have to pay this. This is our taxpayer money. So we learned that there was, remember when we were dealing with General Julius Mkhonasi, the alleged theft of those precious stones. Remember, it's alleged that EMPD officers that were allegedly somehow led or involved with Julius Mkhonasi, that they went to this customs place and they confiscated these precious stones that were ready to leave the country, and they were worth about 45 million. And the CCTV footage clearly shows that EMPD officers were involved. And now the city has been serviced with a 45 million rand damages claim. And when asked exactly what she did with this information, Mashazi shifts the blame again. She says it was Mapiyeye's duty in order to take action, and this was perhaps an oversight on her part. And this is where it collapses. She recognizes this as a failure of oversight, yet she later recommended Mapiyeye for another appointment after his contract ended, even after this massive scandal. And here I'm going to clip it in because I don't think that I could have said it any better.
But I'm going to ask because it's bothering me. Why would you recommend his appointment in 2022 if you have complaints about his inappropriate criminal conduct of abusing power, abusing employees in the workplace? How do you justify that you have that concern which you share with us today, which was never shared at council? You never raised this. You never caused an investigation. In 2022, you recommend him to be appointed. How do you square that up?
Remember, in terms of formal complaint, I only received the formal complaint now about his sexual harassment case and so forth. Others, as I indicated, ma'am,
Yes.
It was a group of these EMPD officials who cried out to me that as women or as females, we are not promoted unless
No, please,
1, 2, 3.
I know what you're saying. You
Yes.
said it in the morning.
Yes.
But something has come up now. You recommended his appointment in 2022. You told us in the morning when you were appointed originally in 2016, I think it is, you received these complaints about him and other men in the department. We know you did nothing about it. And your explanation is I didn't have anything in writing, but you mentioned him by name. Among the others, you don't mention him, you mention by name. In 2022, you recommend his appointment. Someone that you're making serious allegations about, serious, which have consequences for even the metro. I mean, if the metro, if employees say, well, we told our city manager and no measures were put in place to protect us against these pests in the workplace. Not only that, you in 2022 recommend his appointment. I think that is deeply problematic.
Thank you, Chair. Remember when I introduced this particular program, I worked hand in hand with Chief. He complied with me. Hence, I indicated in the morning that each celebration, and he also assisted me to ensure that these women are actually uplifted. In terms of appointment, he took over. And in terms of promotion or ensuring that they get bursaries, he took over. He was complying with me. So for me, it was not a problem. The problem became when a formal complaint came. And it was not going to be fair for me to actually disqualify him on generalized allegations.
Thank you, Dr. Mashazi.
You see, Dr. Mashazi, the problem is that.
But then we went into that meeting. Remember that meeting that happened when Mapiyeye was placed on special leave. So what happened is they allegedly went to go have a meeting. Spies was there as well, Revo Spies, as well as Mapiyeye at Mashazi's offices. And her protectors, remember, it was testified that they took all the devices, but Spies still took notes. And he went and he typed them up that evening so that it was fresh in the memory. And during the meeting, this is Spies' notes. He recorded that Mashazi basically said everyone must behave, and you are not supposed to open cases against their colleagues in the EMPD. And when the minutes of the meeting are read, she says that perhaps some of it she doesn't accept the whole document as truthful, and that perhaps some of it could have been fabricated. I'll play it because this was a very interesting exchange for me. And one must remember that when one is telling the truth, one does not get tired of telling the truth because you don't have to think so much. Now, I want you to look at her body language. She is tired. The commissioners have been at her the whole day. She is tired, and she even admits that she does not want to come back. Otherwise, she is going to get a stroke. Now, that is insightful on my part because for the people who I feel have testified honestly in front of the commission, they have come prepared. They have come with a better attitude. They have come wanting to tell their side of the story and to get their truth out. And they have done it with vigor. They have done it with energy. And they didn't look worn down like she did. But make up your mind below. You are here to make up your own mind. I would never force my opinion on you. But personally, I think that she is just getting tired.
Corrected, and because I forget, and I don't want to actually accept this as the true reflection of what transpired.
Yes, that's noted.
But I want to recall and respond accordingly in terms of my evidence that will be sent to you.
And my question was whether the meeting, the fact that he's asked for special
I do not
leave
recall that.
at all, nothing at all.
I do not recall that we discussed that in this meeting. But I know for the fact that we had a meeting in my office where Chief requested me.
So if at page 108, to the bottom of 108, the note reflects under CM, and I interpret that to be city manager, and attributes the following words to her. And I quote, "The airport is important and we shall partake in the bricks. Very little budget, you shall give uniform and firearms. Give them tools of trade. Chief, I can see you are overwhelmed and therefore you shall take leave. Get debriefed, rest and come back neutral and objective. Director North stated she's depressed and this is wrong. I'm normally not harsh, but I am hurtful. And I'll jump to almost the end of that paragraph. Third line from the bottom. Mapiyeye, you shall take special leave and the rest shall report through Mzolo. If you are afraid / fragile or important, go to him for solutions. And I end the quote. Are you suggesting that all these words attributed to you, including the issue of the directive that they be provided with firearms and tools of trade, all that is a fabrication? Or are some of the words a fabrication and some correct? Where exactly do we land?
Maybe some they are correct, like the purpose of the meeting, but others I feel that they were fabricated, but I do not want to accept the authenticity of this document.
No, we're not testing the authenticity.
It's not a true reflection, and I really do not want to talk to it. That's why I said, can I be given a chance to submit my own response to these things? Because I did respond to...
So will you accept an invitation to return to come deal with your response?
I beg pardon?
Will you accept an invitation then to return to this commission to deal with your response?
I will submit the response in writing. I will not come to the commission. No, I can't. I'll get a stroke coming back here.
If you refer to your annexure IM 14, your IM 14 in your annexure file.
This got wild because then she accused Revo, Spies and Chief Mapiyeye of basically colluding against her. And I think she ran out of energy or something. But like I said, when one person is being truthful, their story shouldn't take a lot of energy to tell. But
it is what he was subjected to by the person through whom he directly reports. And the intimidation and the harassment and just generally protecting Brigadier Mkhwanazi. And that by this time it was non-negotiable on your part that he's leaving. Regard being heard to his summary of the meeting as he understood it, of the 15th, according to him, of August, where he brought the precious stones issue to you. And according to his testimony, you effectively blew a gasket and you said that he is being biased towards Mkhwanazi and he should take leave and go clear his head and come back less biased. And curiously, those are the same words that Spies records in his note, RS-23 and RS-23A. So it's purely coincidental that he would note the same, he would record the same words that Mapiyeye claimed you expressed to him. Or are you suggesting that they are perhaps in cahoots?
Exactly.
Exactly what? The question.
Cahoots in terms of whatever fabrication they made against me. And the fabrication according to their own notes, when they produced these notes to the mayor a year later. So they had enough time to actually fabricate and collaborate whatever information they wanted to. Hence, one of the issues that I'm raising is that we were not given enough time. They were given free airtime to prepare and collaborate and prepare documents so that they collaborate their stories. And it's unfortunate that we were given a week to look at all these allegations within 2 weeks or a week. In fact, within a week, because we received some of these things on the 25th of August. That's why I'm saying we will go back and look at some of these issues, but the notes that were made for me is publication, and I really don't want to spend time on them.
So then we must accept Remembering that arrest.
His testimony did not give us any clarity. Instead, it muddied the waters. And this is an example of someone who has not taken any accountability for their leadership role. And in my own opinion, Mashazi, who is supposed to uplift other women, but from her testimony today, I don't think that she did that at all. From the testimony I got today is that she launched a smear campaign on one of Madlanga's commission's most credible witnesses by calling her an angel, by alleging that she was sleeping with the boss per se, and her testimony gave us contradictions. WhatsApps with no comment, mysterious letters written to no one or sent to no one, a suspension lifted by nobody, a chief on special leave to rethink his opinion until it matched with hers, and a 45 million rand scandal that somehow wasn't anyone's responsibility, but the taxpayers are going to have to pay. One thing is clear. The Blue Light Saga and the Madlanga Commission is no longer just about Kat or Julius Mukonasi. It's about a system where every answer raises another question and every denial poses or exposes a deeper crack. The Madlanga Commission continues, and the truth, wherever it is running out of places to hide.